in Rhino 5, many of the commands that we can use for 2D and 3D surfaces and transform, many of these commands have been enabled to use history. So the history has now become a very nice feature to have. So if I go down to where it says record history at the bottom of my screen and I right click on that, notice that I have here always record history checked, update children checked, and also history break warning. That means that it's going to record history for any command I use that supports it. The models that are affected by history are always going to be updated as I'm working. And if I do anything to any model which breaks the history, it will immediately warn me so that I can either back up, or if that was intended, I can continue, but I will know that I have broken the history. So let's take a look at a very simple exercise that shows the history working through a series of lines and curves and commands together in one model, and allowing us to quickly edit and change this model. So let's make sure, in my case, I'm going to go to a new document, make sure that I am in millimeters. I'm going to go to my front view, and I'm going to draw a simple circle from 0 for the center and a radius of 8.5. The next thing I'm going to do is go to my right view, and in my right view I'm going to draw a conic from the freeform curves over here, and this conic is going to start right under my circle here, a little longer, as you can see, 2 millimeters off to the left, and it's going to end also over my circle, maybe somewhere over here. I'll put the apex centered, and maybe let me take off the grid snap and something to that shape. Now that I have this, let's go to the perspective, and right now I'm going to use from our curve tools, curve from two views, and this command has history enabled. So we're going to see what happens later on as we continue modeling. So this curve and this curve, and from those two I get the three-dimensional version. So right now Rhino, the history remembers that this curve originated from using these two with curve from two views. So the next thing I want to do is take this new curve, and I'm going to use transform mirror. So I'm going to go to the transform toolbar and get the mirror option right here, and I'm going to mirror from 0, and with the ortho on, make sure that I'm mirroring perfectly across that red axis. And we know that the mirror is also using history. So right now, pretty much everything that we've been doing so far is recording history. Next, I'm going to create I'm going to start it in the perspective view. I'm going to create an arc. If you see down here, I have the quadrant snap turned on. So I'm going to go to the quadrant over there, then the quadrant over here, and create my shape. Maybe something like so. Yeah, looks good. There we go. And once I create that arc, using the midpoint object snap, I'm going to click on split, point on the command line, and cut that right at the midpoint, and delete 1/2. So I now have half an arc right here. Next thing I'm going to do is another command that has history enabled, which is our sweep to rails. So I'm going to pick this one and that one as the rails. This is the cross section. I'm going to press enter. Click OK. And now I'm going to go to shaded mode, and there is my model that I'm trying to make. Is a surface of a ring. I'm going to one more time use mirror from 0 with ortho straight across the red axis, And there is the other half of that model. And now is where the history magic is going to happen, because right now, for example, if I take this curve and that curve and I show their control points, now I can begin to do anything I want. If I want the ring to become wider at the bottom, I can take these points, move them over, and notice how the ring automatically updated. Everything updates because history remembers everything. Make it thinner. There it is. Make it straighter at the center. There it is. Put it back. Now I can come up here and I can decide, okay, this needs to become wider this way. And there it is. All happens. Maybe I need to make that taller. There, it becomes taller. So, as you can see, I can experiment now with all these curves until I have exactly the shape that I want. I can play with these control points until I see a form that I actually like, and that is all because of the history. I can even bring this so it bulges out. Now I'm starting to create something really weird here, as you can see, but we'll put it back to our ring shape. There we go. So don't forget to experiment as you're working with your models. When you're trying to come up with a shape that you're trying to design and you're having a hard time deciding what it is that you like, don't forget that if you have your history on, you can start playing with your curves, control points, and your surfaces will begin to change because they came from those curves and they have history.